at the time of his death, that was one of the worst things, heartbroken I had, when this happened to him. Because, like even when they said that he had got shot, I ran downstairs and I screamed, and like a pain came from the bottom of my stomach out, and something I wish I would never hear no more. And I was more concerned about them not taking it no farther, checking and writing nothing up about him. And so I just said I would go come out today and find out and try to get something myself, to know that we did love and concerned about what happened to him.
Carrie Walters, age 74, grandmother of Christopher Felder, who was tragically killed 6 years ago on an early Sunday morning in the Booker T projects, sat down with Real Jersey City to express her frustration with the case going cold and the overall lack of attention paid to Felder's death, starting with her recollection of the shooting.
Well, when this happened, I heard the shots when it was fired, and like he had been upstairs early that night because he had a growth on his neck, and I was asking him about that. And I always tell him when they leave out the house, I said, all right, be careful out there and stuff like that, all right, Grandma, and look back, like you always do and stuff, with him, even when they went out that night. And he didn't live there, but he was there at all times, just like he lived there. At times, like he came down and stayed with me for a while and stuff, but it was like his house there too. He lived on Statement Street, that's where his address was, but Booker T was his home. And from a baby on up to age 27, he came down to 27. He came around, him and the boys sit around and drank a little beer, celebrate his birthday the 27th. And this happened on Sunday morning before day on the 30th, when like a bunch of them just sitting around out there in the playground and stuff. And I don't know, it's just something. It's just hard to talk about too, because he was such a sweet person, beautiful person, and he can communicate with anybody.
Walters added that she wasn't satisfied with the follow-up investigation.
They said to us, talking about, well, like everybody's talk real nice of him, and we're gonna get to the bottom of that. We're gonna find who did it. But like I said, that would just happen maybe about 2 or 3 months or something like that. Like they might ask little questions around there, but then it just stopped.
I followed up by asking her what she would say if she could speak to the killer of her son.
I say I think it would take a big burden off my heart anyway, like knowing if I was to see them, I would ask them what was the reason for firing the gun, like out there into the crowd, or with them out there or something like that. I would ask that question, and like why they never thought of, like coming forward after all these years and stuff like that. And what was the reason?
In addition, I asked if someone being brought to justice was as important as knowing the truth 6 years later.
I feel better just knowing the truth, because even like through the justice system and stuff like that, I said God have the last say, and and that's who they will have to answer to, more to him for what they did or something. But like I would just like I don't know. I feel that I feel released. Just like even if to go to court or something, the person come up, I think I would feel more released knowing seeing the face of the person that responsible for it. And I don't think I could hold back no whole hatred, because that wouldn't bring him back and stuff like that. But it would be a hurt, and then it would be a big release, more release than hurt, I think.
Walters added that she could find it in her heart to forgive the killer.
I feel that I can forgive them, because, like I say, I'm not the one that like that they have to face. They have to face God themselves, and for me, I think I could forgive them.
Finally, Walters spoke about the emotional toll she's endured since her grandson's death, and her hope of finding out the truth of what happened that fateful night.
So many young mothers, grandmothers nowadays are going through these problems and stuff like that, and I know it's a real burden, because even in the beginning when I had to go to therapy myself for a while, to get, me seller, but you still I get up, I think about him all the time and stuff, and wonder if there'll ever be anybody with the life, as long as I live, will anybody ever come forward, like to, confess to it or say it was a mistaken or whatever, even if it was a mistaken identity or something like that, I would feel better than just, just nothing.
I'm Michael Shuren with Real Jersey City, the talk of the town.